Hello, and welcome to this very special extra edition of The Seventh Rule. We've got your stars here, Aron Eisenberg, who played Nog on Deep Space Nine. We've got Cirroc Lofton, who played Jake, the snake Sisko in Deep Space Nine.
The snake.
We've got super producer Jarrod Cooper. My name is Ryan T. Husk. Let's get right into it. This is going to be a nice, fond farewell to Season 2 of Discovery. It's also a fond farewell to one of us. So stay tuned to find out about that. But first, let's talk about Discovery Season 2. Overall, Aron Eisenberg, scale of 1 to 10, Season 2 of Discovery.
Oh, shoot. I feel like I got to match our other show where I said, what did I say, an 8? I think I said, I said like an 8.2. Or was that just for the finale? It's hard to give a number, but I loved it. I thought it was a great ride. And I've been a fan of both seasons. I like what they did in Season 1, and I've loved Season 2, and I've enjoyed the journeys thus far. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see where it goes for next season. And I know that I was reading somewhere somebody saying, but did they really then have to go once Control was eliminated? Why didn't they just say, stop?
Yeah.
And they go, and then someone said, well, of course they left so they can get rid of canon. And I don't really blame them for that, to be honest with you. I think finding a way out of that was probably smart because it's just too much to keep up with it because everybody's like, watching the shows and everything you do with a microscope. And one of my positive notes that I took from this season was it seemed in every episode they threw a little something out there to explain or explain away or bring in something from the past into the present and connect it. And I felt that connecting Discovery with the past and into the future was kind of the main, what felt like the goal of this season, to kind of launch, let's get us up on our own 2 legs now. And let's get us away from being tethered to the canon from the past. And I thought they did a good job of getting there. So, of course, they're going to commit to that. And I think it's, no offense, I'm a fan too, and I used to tease that the Enterprise was a hoopty compared to Discovery, and then I loved how they brought the Enterprise in towards the end, and you realized, they did a really good job of kind of alluding to the past, but keeping it as though that ship looks like it's still in the present. And so they sold me on it. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Do you think it was better or worse than the first season?
Neither. I felt it was a good trajectory from the first season. That was so similar to The Shield into the second season. I thought it was a good journey all the way through. So I loved it because the first season I'm like, where are they going to go with this? And they did. The only big thing I wanted from the first season was that I wanted them to stay in the mirror universe. I thought they should have gone there and then done that whole season in there. Sure. And I would have thought, that would have been so much fun and different and really, taking something we're so used to, and then kind of giving it to us, but saying, but now we're going to be there. That's our, and they didn't go there. I felt they should have. I remember telling Bowie and Erica, why didn't you guys stay there? And we should get them on the show to see their opinion of how they felt for the past 2 seasons. If they felt success, they're excited about the future, they wish they did this, love to get them on the show. So I gotta reach out to them.
You're talking about the writers of Discovery, a couple of them, right?
The 2 that I know, yeah, Erica and Bowie Young.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm saying her name correctly, I think I am. But
Cirroc, what did you think of Season 2 overall?
Oh, Season 2.
That's what we're covering, yeah.
Yeah, it was decent. It was decent. I think overall, one of the things that I keep saying over and over again is that the show is so visually good. Like, it's just put together so well. It's so authentic. It looks real. The ships look real. The clothing, all the things that I see as far as the visual effects of it are stunning.
Mm-hmm.
The ships and the fight scenes. I mean, it just really looks great. And I wish that we had the advantage of having the kind of technology of today back when we were doing our show, so that we could have put out a similar quality of visual imagery. Even though we did have an elaborate set and we had, a stunning promenade, I feel like we didn't have the special effects and the kind of crystal clearness and the quality of the camera work and the lighting that they have in today's visual camera work. So I think the cinematography is unbelievable.
Production value, very high.
The production value
Yeah,
is just it's just as good as it gets.
Yeah.
And for a television show, it's beyond my expectations for any television show. I don't think you could accomplish this level of quality for a television show 20 years ago or longer, because
maybe even 5. Yeah.
Maybe even 5. It just wouldn't be there as far as being able to look that amazing.
It's funny you brought up DS9. I was watching Emissary for our Today show later, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder what this show would be like if they were reshooting it today with the things that they put in Discovery.
I was thinking the same thing, like the orbs, the scenes with the orbs, the scenes with the fight scenes, and and even with the prophets, the way they altered the lighting for the prophets in the Emissary episode was, it was good, and it got the point. It got the point across that it was an alternate version of the characters that they were portraying. But I'm sure that with today's technology, you can just do so much, and that's what I have to really credit these producers on this show. They have taken the Star Trek brand and made it exceptional as far as what they're putting out visually.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you want to now, where my personal criticism is the storytelling and the storylines. And I feel like that there is more that could be done. A lot of the stuff that I felt they were giving us was like, this is the situation, this is what it is, and here's how we're going to figure it out. And I felt like our show left a lot of things open to interpretation, question, philosophical thoughts, where you're left with like, what is a linear time and how does it function?
Or lack of linear time.
Or the lack of linear time, and how do we live our lives in relation to time?
Yeah.
And those kind of questions, those kind of deep, thoughtful, kind of really no answer to it questions, just kind of left open-ended, where the perceiver has to really fill it in and understand it in their own type of way. I don't feel like that room is left in this show, where I walk away saying, the Red Angel, if I it doesn't hit me with that level of impact.
What?
It doesn't.
You shocked him there, right?
There's circumstances and there's situations and there are scenarios that they go through and they problem solve and they do it, but I don't see the level of philosophical thought questioning things.
I would agree with you on that. There wasn't a lot of philosophical questions given to the viewers. One of the things I did notice watching Emissary, and I'll bring this up in our little Discovery talk here, was the orbs, right, showed the individual's past and what they were holding on to or what they were connected to, right?
Yes.
The time crystals showed the individual's future. Mm-hmm. And either hold on to that future and go this way, or do you choose a different path and maybe change that future? But if you do this, know that this is what's coming. And I was thinking to myself, since Erica and Boyan are Star Trek DS9 fans, and I don't know who else was in the 21 producers that they had, if they kind of took that same element of the orb and kind of flipped it a little bit for the time crystal, because I was thinking to myself, if the time crystal produces that and it continued to produce it for others that came in the vicinity of it, right, or the contact, if I remember correctly, right, because someone else saw a future, right? Am I wrong? Right, Jarrod?
Right.
And the orb did the same thing with Dax when she was observing it. And I'm like, huh, did they just kind of flip it? Or did we have time crystals on DS9 and we didn't know it,
I hope
Jake?
not.
No, and that's another thing that that our show touched on, which was in the realm of deep thought and philosophical, framing of an idea, is religion.
Yeah.
And Emissary right away starts off with, Commander Sisko being thrust into the center of a religion that he really didn't know much about before. And so here comes again the questions of God and destiny, things that are really important, kind of philosophical questions that the audience is left thinking, wow, it could go this way, it can go that way, and it challenges the standards, the belief systems. It challenges you to think about things, and I felt like that's the one thing I'm missing from this new show, is walking away challenged and saying, that's a really interesting take on that. I never thought of it like that.
Well, Discovery did have an episode where they covered religion. It was one of the earlier episodes this season. It was like episode 2 or 3. It was pretty early on in the game, and they did touch upon it, although they certainly had a different take than they did on Deep Space Nine. It more kind of pushed in the other direction. But Jarrod, what are your final thoughts on the entirety of season 2 of Discovery?
I think that first off, I will agree with Cirroc that from a visual standpoint, it is phenomenal. And if you took that $10 a month that you paid for CBS All Access and went to the movies, you probably wouldn't get that good of effects. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I also think that season 2 did, in many ways, the impossible, because it had a lot of boxes it had to check. But more importantly, it took a fandom that was screaming and cussing that show up one side and down 7. We don't need a prequel. We don't need this. We don't need that. And left it begging for more by the end of the season. They wanted more prequels. They wanted more Pike. So I got to give it to it. It did the impossible. Was it as strong as season 1 or season 2 or, season 2? That's debatable. It's 8 or 9 and we could sit here all afternoon. I am intrigued to see where the show's going to go next season, especially since they left half of their regulars behind.
and how many hundreds of years are they going?
973, right?
Is it 173 years?
No,
930.
30, yeah.
Okay, 930 years. So yeah, it's going to be a whole different show probably.
Yeah, and they've got, but they got some new characters, some fresh blood. Like for example, my favorite new character, Miss Lieutenant Nan, who thank goodness is getting a little bit more beef to her role, because at first everybody was so curious and so interested, and we weren't getting anything from her, or about her. And then at the end, we got quite a bit more, and she's now going to be part of the team. That's it. Jet Reno is a new one that came on that's sticking with them. Even this guy, Linus the Sinus, is sticking with them. So we're not going to, supposedly, depending on if they stay in that future for the entire season, we're not going to have Ash. We're not going to have Laurel. We're not going to have whoever else in that storyline.
Cornwell's gone.
Cornwell's dead.
They got rid of the Klingon storylines, really, right? A lot of the Klingon stuff got left behind. And
I'm fine with that.
But Laurel can go back and get a time
Really
crystal. You can just go pick up another time crystal and just jump
at the black market.
Hey, look who's here!
Hey,
ready to party! I got the blood wine.
Yeah.
And
so we got the fresh blood. We still have the core, the core 4, who's Saru, Tilly, Michael, and Stamets. We've got Culber's back. We've got Jet, and the bridge crew's getting more lines. Pike and Spock are gone for now, supposedly, but they've got enough. Oh, and now suddenly they have that new princess girl, Poe, too. some 17-year-old genius. That was always something I wondered too.
But Poe wasn't on the ship. Poe wasn't on the ship. She stayed behind. She was on the ship.
Did she?
Yeah.
Okay, but I always wondered about that. When an alien says, "Hey, I'm only 17 years old," how does a human know what that really means? Maybe they go around the Earth every, 700 days. So really, she's 35.
Well, that gets back to Voyager. Kess was 2.
Yeah, but maybe their sun revolves around the Earth. It takes them 1,000 days to go around the Earth. So really, she's 6 an hour.
Look, she's underage, Ryan. So just get over it. Don't try to use that. Try to use that in a court of law.
Whoa! Where are we taking this show?
I think
dog ears. We're taking it to dog ears.
Yeah, I'm like, but I swear on our planet she's 6.
No, go the opposite.
Yeah, the other way.
On our planet,
he's 25.
No, I meant if
he's 25.
Then she'd be 6 on Earth.
There you go.
Not 6.
There you go, Aaron. You got it. You picked up on it. Yeah, this is degenerating, Jarrod. I can tell by the look on your face.
It's really funny. During the live show, something was brought up about the similarities always between Orville and Discovery and this, that, and the other.
Right.
I wonder if it was planned that both shows would not end with their crews.
Oh, is that what happened on Orville?
Yeah, the crew. Well, think about it. Discovery didn't end with the crew of Discovery. It ended with Pike and them on the Enterprise. The Orville didn't end with them all on the Orville. It ended in the past with young
Skywalker.
Yeah.
So they had to go in the past, because Discovery went in the future. We're always going to be the opposite. We are yin. You're yang.
It was a funky time travel episode that had to solve its problems in the past, and I'm just curious as to why any show would choose to not end on their leads.
So, Jarrod, watching both, and you apparently watched both series, which one would you prop up over the other? If you had to choose one, Desert Island season 2 of Orville or season 2 of Discovery, and you could only take one of them to the island, which would you take?
I would take Discovery with me.
Ah, there you go.
Because the Orville is too, I don't want to say thin, but that's the only way I can put it. That there's not much to it. There's not enough meat to it.
Depth. It doesn't have as much depth. Yeah.
I'll say this. I would say that the Orville surprised me more than Discovery, and the Orville had a lower ceiling, but they met that ceiling. Whereas Discovery has a higher ceiling, and they have higher expectations. It's a lot harder.
So I don't know. I don't know why it didn't work.
Definitely achieve what they set out to achieve. And I will say one more thing on the side of the Orville, is that out of all of the episodes between Discovery and Orville, judging from fan reaction, there was one episode that was more must-see TV than anything else, and that was the Orville two-parter around like episode 13 or 14, if you recall, with the Kalon. That blew up the internet more than any other episode of the Orville or Discovery. So they get at least the one Hail Mary pass that was great.
Well, Aaron knows this. When we talked about the Orville season 1, my biggest problem with it was that it's a show that didn't know what it was. Was it a comedy? Was it a drama? It found that balance this season a lot more.
Yeah, you told me that.
It did do a lot better. And if we want to talk about must-see TV from the Orville from this past season, the episode with Bob Picardo and them, it had Alara not left in that episode.
And John Billingsley. Had Alara not left in that episode, Bob Picardo and John Billingsley's performance would be hands down the talk of the net.
If she didn't leave, she left?
She left.
Spoiler.
She left the show?
The show.
Why?
Better things to do.
She Tasha Yard the show.
I don't know. If I'm working on a TV show, I don't go, I got better things to do. I mean,
she's got a movie. She's in a movie called like The Last Summer or something like that. Basically, she's the Tasha Yar of the Orville.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, my complaint of the Orville season 1, and I have not watched season 2, and Jarrod knows quite well that I was very critical of Orville. I kept complaining it's not quite Trek and it's not quite funny. And I wanted funny. I wanted, but I think I had an unrealistic expectation of the first season. I wanted Spaceballs. I wanted them to be making fun of Trek because I saw so many moments that would have been so funny based on what we're so accustomed to with Star Trek. And I wanted that within the stories that they were telling. I wanted fun and humor. And he wants, if I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jarrod or Ryan, because you watched it, he wants to be more.
What about me?
He wants to be Trek. You haven't watched it. I know you haven't watched Orville.
Well, wait a minute. I have 2 cents to put on it.
Let's hear all 7
put on the brakes.
Hold on.
I'm so sorry, my co-starring friend.
Yeah, I have some money to put on this Orville stuff. Number 1, we got Penny Johnson. We have to give a shout out to Penny.
You can't have 2 cents without starting with a penny.
Exactly.
Hey!
Exactly.
And Penny is honestly one of the best parts of that show.
Yes, and I said that last year, didn't I, Jarrod?
Yep.
So shout out to Penny, my stepmom. And also shout out to Jay Lee, Lieutenant Commander John Lamar.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good friend of mine. And,
you know him.
Yeah. And the first time I heard about Orville was when he was telling me that he was going to do a show that was done by Seth MacFarlane. It was a space show. And I started laughing. Like, there's no way that show's going to make it.
Oh, you're so mean.
So shout out to Jay Lee for being ahead of the curve and then putting me up on it, at least about 6 months to a year before it came out. So,
I hope they get picked up. I hope they don't get fireflied.
So, Cirroc, did you have some comment about the show, though? Or you're just giving a shout-out?
I was just giving shout-outs.
Oh!
And that was my comment. You know what I mean?
It's a good comment.
So,
It's a good comment.
Here's the deal. My comment is I didn't think it would be successful. And that was my gut feeling before a single episode was filmed, just based on the fact that it was a sci-fi comedy, essentially, right? Because I look at Seth MacFarlane as being a comedic writer no matter what he does. So I have to give him credit that it's lasted, that it has a following, and that it is even being, in the conversation. So all of those things to me are remarkable for a guy like Seth MacFarlane, who is now showing that he has the ability to kind of expand what we expect of him.
It is funny that we almost can't have a Discovery conversation without it turning into an Orville discussion. And I feel like they might be forever linked unless one of them gets canceled.
Well, they did that with our show.
Forever linked,
with our show, we had the Babylon 5. We couldn't get away from Babylon. So every time they talked about Deep Space Nine, somebody brought up Babylon 5.
Well, wasn't the Jarrod would probably be able to speak of this better than I can. I don't know about you, Cirroc, but the things I've always heard was that they're the same story, but Babylon 5 came first. And they feel that our show ripped off Babylon 5.
Yeah, there's the Babylon 5 came first, and then there's the Babylon 5 got pitched to Paramount and all them as well, and they turned it down. And then a couple years later, out trots Deep Space Nine.
But, sorry.
I'm just saying that's where a lot of that comes from.
Interesting.
But
But
Ira wasn't at the beginning of DS9. He came later. So
right.
He, if I'm correct, was not part of that pitch and kind of took over DS9 and made it his own. So you can't, so that's kind of a false argument, no? I mean,
that is what it is. That's what people this entire time.
I'm just bringing up the fact that there was a show, non-Star Trek, that was also being talked about the same way Orville is now a non-Star Trek show being talked about at the same time as a Star Trek show. And I think Sequest DSV actually had a little overlap on that as well.
Sequest. I remember Sequest with what's
Jonathan Brandis.
Yeah.
Roy Scheider.
Roy Schneider.
No, but who's Admiral Paris? What's his name?
Who?
Oh, yes.
Richard Hurd.
Oh.
Good old Richard Hurd, our good friend Richard and Patricia Hurd. Hey, tell you what, we got to close this out, guys. Overall, it sounds like we all love Discovery, as we knew we would, but it's definitely raised the bar, definitely met our expectations for the most part. At the very least, the production value is, we all agree, the absolute best, top-notch thing that we could possibly hope for on television. Number one, Aaron says.
No, but before you go, do you want to end this little discussion on maybe what we might like to see in season 3?
If we could do it in 20 seconds each.
Oh, okay.
I'd rather give Jarrod a shout out and let him.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to regardless.
But this is an extra thing, right? This isn't our.
We will regardless. So if you want to throw out what you want to see, go ahead.
Cool. Go ahead, Cirroc, because you told me you wanted to say something.
No, I just wanted to say it was good working with you, Jarrod, and you know.
I guess we're moving on to the next part. Surprise, everybody! Jarrod's leaving us. Nope, sorry, too late. Jarrod's
you got cut off.
You can always catch him on. He's got 2 more podcasts. One is called Trek 360. One is called Doctor Whom Audio Files.
Audio Files.
Why don't you tell us about those, Jarrod?
Trek 360 came about as honestly as a result of this show. Russ needed more Star Trek content on Odyssey and said, Jarrod, can you do a show where we talk about everything that is not the show and everything that stems off from the show? So books, gaming, audios. We just had the producer of the new sci-fi fantasy play, Dark Sublime, that's going to be on the West End this summer, which is really interesting because if you guys haven't read up on it, the show that Marina's doing, it's about a sci-fi actress who was typecast and lost the sci-fi show, hurt her career. Yeah, it's really interesting listening to it. Doctor Who Audio Files they wanted another show. They wanted something Doctor Who related, so we focused entirely on the audio plays and audio dramas. So I will still be around. I am not dying. Just the 7th rule will have one less Jarrod.
Well, we're all I mean, slowly.
One less Jarrod.
Yeah, I mean, he's still in the same Odyssey radio family. You'll still see him around on this show sometimes, I'm sure. He's still part of the same radio family. And I'm sure we'll all be guests on his show whenever we have time. No, but it's been great working with Jarrod. He's been with us for 16 episodes. He definitely held our hand while we had our training wheels on, I think. And Aaron, go ahead and throw your Discovery hopes and dreams.
Well, no, we're not. We can't go backwards now. I'm gonna good wishes
Orville
to Jarrod.
goes to the past. Discovery goes in the future.
That's all right. I can say it in our next show. I'm going to say it in our next show.
You know what? CBS sent out a little form to everybody that subscribes to All Access asking questions about Star Trek. Go tell them. They're the ones that need to listen.
Oh, well, what I want to say is I wish you well. And we've been doing this, you and I, for almost a year and a half now.
Yep.
And it's been a great journey. And I'm glad you came along with me on here. And I'm glad you've got 2 new shows of your own that are launching and doing well for you. And I want to continue our good friendship and our good relationship and support each other. And I wish you all the best on Trek 360 and Doctor Who Audio Files. And are you doing both of them with Danny? Danny's your co-host.
Danny's on both of them, yeah.
Great. And
there's a couple more on Audio Files. We have Mark Baumgarten and one of our listeners here, Cortina Womack.
Oh, fantastic. And you know what's great is how this family is growing. The Odyssey family is growing, and we're all part of the same family under the same umbrella. And I hope that we continue to support each other, and much success to you in the future.
Yeah, Jarrod, much success. We wish you the best.
Let's disavow any rumors of fighting and all that stuff that's going to show up on Twitter. It's none of that. I just don't have enough hours in my day.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we talked about that,
rumors,
right?
Though.
And we have
Start up rumors, you guys. Get the rumors going.
Yeah, beef sells records, guys. That's Tupac.
Michael Chiklis is going to be the most upset that there's one less Jarrod on this show.
Yeah.
No, just get Michael Chiklis to sit where I do. There, you'll be fine.
You actually kind of look like Michael Chiklis now that I think about it, Jarrod.
See?
And
you could be the thing.
And just, a little constructive criticism for you, Jarrod, going forward. You got to smile less.
No. Less. I will
Too much
No more
laughing.
laughter.
Yeah, too much laughing, too much smiling. Just try to keep a straight face as much as you can.
You know, the other day we were recording and Danny went through a fifth of whiskey. Like, maybe I'll use her approach. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, that'll loosen you up. I want to see that show.
Speaking of which, let's have a
Today's
toast to
Dr.
Jarrod.
Yeah, toast to Jarrod. One last drink, everybody, for Jarrod.
Prosper,
Boom,
Jarrod.
there it is.
May the great river provide.
All right, boys, keep your ears open.
All right.
So, for Russ Hasledge over at Odyssey Radio, for our superstars, Aron Eisenberg and Cirroc Lofton, for Jarrod Cooper on Trek 360 and the Doctor Who audio files, I'm Ryan T. Husk. Thank you all very much for joining us. And as always, remember the seventh rule. You look like you're about to smoke a doobie. I look like you went.
That's in a little bit later. I thought we were going to wait.
Awesome.